would you react if you had a debt collector chasing you for a debt on a mobile phone account that you didn't open? This is exactly the situation that many of my clients have had just recently. It's very real, it's very true, so I thought I would talk to you about it in this video. And just as a heads up, I have a very relevant partner for this video called Incogni, so more about that a little bit later. It will help to protect you somewhat. So this is a very real story, but before I get into it, I am a barrister of England and Wales. If you enjoy my content, please do consider hitting the like button and subscribe, because that helps my channel grow. So let's talk about this story. So more than one client has recently come to us with near identical situation, in that they've had a mobile phone account open, more than one account in some cases, in their name, with their address. They've racked up a bill and it's now being sent for collection. And they've got debt collectors approaching them, threatening to seize their car, threatening to seize their assets, and threatening to take them to court, obviously, over the significant debt that they've racked up. Now, the interesting thing here is that it's in their name, with their address, and they must have had sufficient details to be able to open that account in the first place. And we are talking about mainstream mobile phone companies here, with whom these people, these scammers, have opened these accounts in our client's name. Now, obviously, I'm not telling you who our clients are, but each of them have had a very similar story in that they've just received debt collectors' letters through the post, together with some documentation which then shows that these accounts have been opened. And it didn't stop there. In most of these cases, the fraudsters not only open a mobile phone account, but they go on to open several other lending facilities, retail finance, and this sort of thing as well. Now, you might be asking yourself one or two different questions at this point. First of all, how did they manage to open those accounts? I'll come back to that in a moment. And secondly, why would they be opening these accounts? What is the purpose if the correspondence is going to the main address and they can simply ring up to get it closed? Well, that isn't even as straightforward as that. But let's address both of those questions in turn, and then I'm going to tell you what you might be able to do about it. So first of all, how are they doing this in the first place? Well, these fraudsters have got enough information about an individual to then impersonate that individual. They might even go to lengths as producing fake identification. Or in some cases, it appears that these companies are accepting photocopies of identification as sufficient to open an account. Now, in the case of mobile phone accounts, one client alone had half a dozen different accounts opened between mobile phone accounts and loan agreements and retail finance and so on. Each of those phone agreements would have been a mobile phone, a physical mobile phone attached to the contract that would have been handed over to the fraudster at the point of opening the account. And same goes for the retail finance. They will have had some kind of product against the retail finance, all of which is now laid as debt at the door of our clients. So how is it that these fraudsters are able to get enough information to convince these companies to open credit accounts, give them mobile phones, give them retail products against retail finance that is in the name of somebody else, the victim of this fraud? Well, this is known as identity theft. You've heard the term frequently, but you probably underestimated just what a devastating impact it can have on your life, on your credit file, and everything else. So just before we dive into exactly what you can do about this if you end up in that situation, let's talk about how you can prevent this from happening in the first place. And that's where my partner for this video comes in, Incogni. And you know, on this channel, I don't regularly work with partners. I only work with those that I would trust and that I would use myself. Incogni is a service that helps to prevent your information, such as the information used in the story that I just told you, from getting into the hands of those fraudsters that are going to use your information to open these accounts in the first place. It does that by exercising your right to have your data removed from databases that can ultimately lead to your data being leaked online and into the hands of the fraudsters. You see, your information is available online to the highest bidder. When you sign up to companies and services and you provide them your information, they might sell your information because it might be within the terms and conditions of your contract, or you might have agreed to it, or those little tick boxes where you say you can use my data in ways that you need to with your marketing partners and so on. So they might sell on your data. who might in turn sell it on to someone else, who might in turn sell it on to someone else, who might in turn ultimately be selling it to someone that releases it on the dark web, which is where these fraudsters buy and sell your data for nefarious purposes. So the way Incogni works when you sign up is to require all of these data marketers to delete and remove your information from their databases. If you were to try to find these companies, you probably wouldn't know where to start. And there's dozens of them. They gather your information and they market it and they sell it to the highest bidder. But Incogni is a service that insists that they remove your information in accordance with your data protection rights. Thus, it prevents your information from getting out there in the first place and prevents it getting into the hands of the fraudsters, just like the ones that have taken advantage of clients that have approached our firm. So there's a discount available on screen and in the description below. Sign up there and prevent these problems from happening. Take the precautionary step and prevent your data from getting out there before this problem happens to you. So now what do you do if you haven't taken advantage of that and you do end up in this position where you have had your data stolen, you have had your identity stolen, and someone has opened up 4, 5, 6 different accounts in your name, mobile phone contracts, which are worth thousands with the phone that they've taken, retail finance, which again is worth thousands. What can you do about it? There's a number of steps you need to take. It's quite long-winded, it's laborious, and you might be met with some significant degree of difficulty. At least if the stories are anything to go by that have come to us through our clients. Now, the first step obviously is you have to tell the company that you are a victim of identity theft and that you don't admit to this debt. It is not your debt, you've had your identity stolen, and at least you put a marker in time that is the point that you've notified them that the debt is not yours. You then need to report it to the police because it's fraud. The police might tell you to do it through action fraud, which again is long-winded, might take some time, but that is a necessary step that you need to do. You then need to get in touch with the credit reference agencies and tell them that you dispute it on your credit file. There is an easy and free way of doing that, which is with totallymoney.co.uk, not affiliated in any way at all. And when you log in there, you'll see any accounts that have been opened in your name, any searches that have been made against your name. And if you see searches that you don't recognize, that is yet another reason to use my discount for Incogni in the description below to help to remove your data from the servers that are selling it on to these people. But ultimately, if all of that fails and these companies try to take you to court for the debt, then you have no alternative but to fight the case. You have to go to court to fight it. You can't simply ignore it, because if you ignore the claim against you, that's near enough the same as accepting it, because to defend and defeat a claim, you have to rebut the claim, and a bare denial is not sufficient because our rules don't provide for that. Any allegation that is not sufficiently dealt with in your defense is an allegation that you are deemed to accept, and that's within our civil procedure rules. If you're in the unfortunate position of already having a judgment against you that you've never seen anything about before, then you might have to apply to set that judgment aside. We've even seen fraudsters use a very slightly wrong postcode so that on first glance it looks correct, but in fact it's wrong, so that you don't get served with the documents and they get a judgment in their favor. But again, as I said, if you are sued for this debt, you're going to have to defend it. You cannot simply ignore it. So if you do get something like that, you need to get in touch with a lawyer. You can do that with us at our law firm. You probably know that I never really market our own law firm, but the link is always in the description below. If you need guidance and assistance, I've got plenty of videos for you to look at, but if you need formal legal advice, that can either come from us or it can come from any other firm. You know that I don't routinely market my own services here, even though this is exactly what I do as a barrister, and this is what we do as a firm. But do take my guidance and take the preemptive step of having your data removed. Check out the Incogni link in the description below. These are very real stories. They have devastating consequences and they can take a long time to sort out. So I hope you found that a useful, if not slightly scary warning. Please do remember to bop the like button on the way out. Make sure you subscribe, and thank you for watching.